In case you didn't know, private cargo containing phones and phone accessories, batteries and motors was found on the cargo plane, the ECZ cargo plane that was carrying ballot papers for 12 August 2021 election. The question that we are asking today on election updates is, how did private cargo containing this consignment of phones and phone accessories, motors, among other gadgets, found on an ECZ hired or chartered cargo plane? And who is the owner of this consignment? And how did this consignment find itself on a chartered ECZ cargo plane belonging to Emirates Sky Cargo? Somebody must answer these questions. Somebody must answer these questions. They must answer the question of why did or how did private cargo belonging to an individual whom we don't know or an organization that we don't know find itself on an ECZ chartered cargo plane belonging to Emirates Sky Cargo, find itself on an ECZ plane? Somebody must answer. And we must also ask ourselves, what is the connection between a consignment of phones and other accessories and the election we're having on 12 August? Welcome to Election Update. And my name is Mainda, Simataa, your host. Kindly share this broadcast as much as you can, because the information that I'm sharing is very important to open our eyes that we are dealing with a government of criminals, a government that is hell-bent on corrupting and undermining the credibility of the 2021 elections. That's why we must be alert. We must be as alert as our officials were at the airport when receiving the consignment of ballot papers. What happened yesterday at KK International Airport is an example of the attitude and character we must assume in these elections, in the entire process of the elections. We must be alert at every corner, at every turn, at every juncture of the electoral process. We must be alert. Our officials from UPNG were at the airport yesterday to receive what we just understood was going to be ballot papers, the last batch of ballot papers for the 47 remaining constituencies. But lo and behold, to the shock and surprise of our monitors or agents at the airport, there was this consignment which was not on the manifest, because every consignment that lands must have a manifest. A manifest shows what the cargo, what cargo the plane is carrying and who that cargo belongs to. So when the cargo for ballot boxes was received, there was no question, because that was expected. But there was some other cargo, private cargo, that was received. And when that was received at the airport, our officials went into gear and said, no. Can you please open those boxes? Can you please open that cargo which is on that flight, which has come from this chartered flight? Because that flight, Emirates Sky Cargo, that plane was specifically chartered by ECZ to carry ECZ material. Nothing more, nothing less. So our officials held and impounded that cargo and said, this cargo, this private cargo is not going anywhere. It is not going anywhere until it is opened. And that's how the airport authorities, ZRA, Zambia police, and ECZ officials, including journalists from Camnet TV, I believe, and Diamond, I think they covered that story. They witnessed the opening of this private cargo. And what was found inside were phones, phone accessories, batteries, motors, and other gadgets which you and me cannot understand if we are not in the IT world. But this should not surprise you. Remember, I've been telling you and I've been warning you to say that internet was shut down. They are going to shut down the internet for at least 3 days. The day before the election, on the election day, and after the election day, when they're announcing results. They are going to shut this down. So the only people who are able to communicate are people who are security wings, because they have their own transmission signals, private signals, what you call confidential signals. Those are signals which you and me can't use as citizens. Those are for security wings. So they have their own routers. Those are the only people who are going to be communicating. Police will be communicating because they have their own walkie-talkies, their Rogers. They have their own routes. And others who are going to be communicating are those that are going to be using satellite phones. A satellite phone does not need to go through your IPS, internet service, ISP, your internet service provider, which is MTN, Airtel, or Zamtel. A satellite phone connects directly with a given satellite. So you do not go, if they jam the internet, they jam the phone services, somebody with a satellite phone can still go through. So are you seeing the connection? Are you seeing the connection between ballot boxes arriving together with phones and phone accessories? And you know, these phones can look ordinary. To the ordinary eye, it's just like your phone. Your ordinary phone, your Techno, your Samsung. These are common brands. That's how it looks. But these are special phones, and I know what I'm talking about. These are special phones which can communicate directly with one another. There are separate pathways that they can use, either satellite or one-to-one. These phones have got the capability to communicate even when internet is shut down, even when your ISP providers signals are jammed. These phones, they are able to communicate. So what is the connection between ballot boxes, which we were expecting on that cargo flight, and phones belonging to a private person or a private institution? And the questions were asked. Our agents, our party agents at the airport asked to say, who does this cargo belong to? And there was this man who came up. What's his name again? Yoram Chanda. Yoram Chanda is said to be the agent who was at the airport to receive this private cargo, which came aboard an ECZ chartered airline, Emirates Sky Cargo, specifically hired and chartered and paid for by taxpayers' money. In fact, paid for by political candidates and parties who were contributing and donating money to ECZ via those absurd and unnecessary charges for one to participate in the elections. So, who sneaked in this private cargo of phones and phone accessories? And for what? Questions were directed to people who must answer these questions. And the ECZ was asked. The ECZ was asked by stakeholders from UPND, PAC, People's Alliance for Change, and other political party representatives who were at the airport. And frankly, PF was not even at the airport. PF agents were not even at the airport to witness the arrival of these ballots. So ECZ was asked to say, can you explain how phones and phone accessories belonging to private and an unknown private individual or institution found themselves on an ECZ chartered flight? The answer is very ridiculous and unacceptable. The senior PRO or senior public relations officer, Sylvia Waria, said they have to refer to the airline. Really? Cargo on your plane, which you chartered. And by the way, let me explain something. When you charter an airline or you charter an aeroplane, chimwana booking, they have to booking a taxi. That's what it's meant when you say you charter an airline. When you charter an airline or an aeroplane, it means that is specifically yours for your own purpose. You decide what gets on board. There is no way Emirates Airline, Sky Cargo, can put cargo on a plane without consulting the charterer or the hirer of that plane. Because you have chartered their plane, now booking a taxi. Chimwani namri taxi. There is no way we're booking a taxi, then driver is and that, oh, taxi. You can't allow that. Only if you allow that as a charter. Okay, but normally, if you charter a taxi or you hire a taxi, that is the same thing which happened with ECZ. The cargo plane was chartered by ECZ, meaning only cargo that is authorized and approved by ECZ could have found itself on that airline. And the only cargo that you and me and other stakeholders in this election were expecting about that Emirates Sky Cargo Airline was nothing more or less than ballot papers. We didn't want to see shoes on that as part of the cargo. We didn't want to see foodstuffs or anything else. Belts, nothing. The only thing what you expected to be on board was ECZ material, ballot paper, full stop. Elokwaya Sangama phones. You ask for ECZ spokesperson, Vasilvia Bwalia, at our we have to consult the airline to find out how that private cargo phones and phone accessories found itself on the plane. Really? Do these people think we are down quite the top of school? Because we understand these things. We understand that airplane was chartered. The only cargo that can be allowed, I've given you an example of a taxi. When you hire a taxi or an aeroplane, nobody else is going to board that aeroplane or that taxi unless you, the one who was hired, approves. So by ECZ, we don't understand what it means to charter an aeroplane. At no by Emirates. Emirates should explain why phones were found on your amongst your cargo. No, that's nonsense. That's nonsense. Even Emirates will be laughing. Because Emirates is a very professional airline, trusted for many, many years. And they don't make such mistakes. If something finds itself on board an Emirates airline, that thing has got an honor and it has been approved. Especially chartered. I mean, if it was a commercial flight, you'd have understood. If those ballots were coming on a commercial flight, we would have understood. Because on a commercial flight, a lot of customers will carry whatever they want. Whatever kind of baggage will be on board. Because it's a commercial airline. There are different people with different cargo on that airline. But this was a chartered airline. And it was specifically chartered because it was carrying sensitive material. Ballot boxes for the elections in Zambia on 12 August. And that is what we expected to find there. Not AMA phones. So, who has to answer? What were those phones for? Who's the owner of those phones? This chap, Yoram Chanda, the so-called clearing agent, Kuma Fonzuko, he's also saying, no, Emirates has to explain how his cargo found itself on the aeroplane. Wachanda. Don't joke with Zambians, Wachanda. Mwila manama Zambians kwati fipuba. You can't ask an airline to explain to you how it found itself. You yourself, Chanda, knows that cargo would be arriving aboard an aeroplane chartered by ECZ. So you must tell the Zambian people, Yoram Chanda, who sent you? Who sent you? What is the nature of those phones? What are they for? You must answer, not the airline. Because the airline was chartered by ECZ. You and ECZ, in fact, but ECZ must answer because ECZ allowed your cargo, your phones and phone accessories to be on that airline. This is why I say ECZ can't be trusted. And I was even wondering, because no process. ECZ can't just do a simple job without raising controversy. There always has to be controversy from ECZ. The transporting of ballot boxes could have gone smoothly without a hitch. Our observers were there in Dubai. They witnessed the printing, the packaging of those ballots. And now on arrival, we find that there's some other cargo, phone accessories on that plane. Who does that belong to? This thing, that finding of private cargo, phone accessories on the plane, on board which our ballot papers arrived, that raises suspicion and that even raises the question is it true? Can it be that what we have received is what we ordered? Or are there planes that are landing at night, carrying other stuff and other material which we don't know about? That's why myself, I don't even trust that same ECZ warehouse, Silverest in Chongwe. I don't even trust that our ballots are safe that side. I don't trust that. Unless we have our eyes and ears monitoring that warehouse 24/7. I can't trust ECZ. I can't trust the state security to monitor and look after those ballots. Because if phone accessories and private cargo can find itself on a chartered airline by ECZ, what else was on that plane which we might have missed? Those phones are connected with the elections. The PF is going to jam the signal, the phone signal and the internet. Yesterday I was talking to you about how they jammed signals in Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe mnanga got jammed signals during the elections. You dictator of Uganda, Kaguta Museveni, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, he jammed signals during elections. In Congo Brazzaville, they jammed signals. What were they using? Satellite phones. So it should not surprise you. You can now put this is what we call putting one and one together, putting A and B together to get the answer. So there you have it, countrymen and women. Private phones have arrived, which I believe are satellite phones, which can communicate even if the ISP, Airtel, MTN signals are jammed. Those are satellite phones which can communicate between each other. They have them. So this scheme of jamming the internet before, during, and after the elections for about 3 days is real. And the proof of that is in the phones which have arrived. And don't think that consignment, I don't think that consignment is the first consignment. Other consignments obviously have arrived privately and separately. But God wanted to show the Zambian people, to expose these criminals. God wanted to expose these criminals. I don't know how they messed it up, but somehow, ballots, we have seen the phones. We have seen the phones and the phone accessories and the motors. Motors for what? In an election, what are you planning? Motors on the consignment of ballot boxes, what are you planning? It is simple. During the counting of ballots, after 18 hours, a lot of places are going to be load-shedded. Only those with motors will have access to backup electricity. That is the explanation. That is why those motors are there amongst the phone consignment. So we are also ready as the opposition. Some of you like asking questions, say, okay, so Simataa, what are you going to do about it? We are going to carry torches. We are ready. We have torches on standby, powerful torches. I remember torch about Z square. 100-meter radius torch. We have those torches. So even if power goes, we will have our own torches to light up. They have motors. They have imported motors from Dubai. As we are going to use the torches. So we are equal to the task. Even in terms of communication, we know how we are going to communicate. We are not going to rely on Airtel and MTN, these things. We know how we are going to communicate. There are several ways you can bypass these communication ISP. Technology has advanced. So we are going to bypass those communication lines. So we are not worried about not having the technology which the PF have. When they jam the signal, they think they'll be the only one who is going to be communicating. We are also going to be communicating. We are equal to the task. So countrymen and women, your regime, this PF regime has been exposed. But ECZ has failed the integrity test. They have failed to put themselves above board. They have shown by failure to give the people of Zambia direct answers as to why phones, private phones, phone accessories, motors, and other gadgets were found amongst ballot papers. They have failed to give us an answer. Telling us to go and ask Emirates, the flight, the ones who provided the flight, or whose chartered plane we used. Emirates Sky Cargo does not hold water because ECZ chartered that plane, and it means any cargo that is found in there was approved by them. Meaning ECZ also knew that on that cargo were going to be found phones, private satellite phones, and other gadgets, batteries, and whatever. They knew that. So they're not fooling anyone. They should not fool you. They know that phones were on that. And you know that ECZ has always been on the side of the PF. They are biased. They are untrustworthy. The only reason why we are allowing them to carry out the process of these elections is because we are confident that we have an overwhelming advantage on the polling day. We are going to sweep to victory. ECZ is just there for convenience. Nobody trusts them. We don't trust them. We don't even like them. Personally, I don't like them because they have failed the integrity test time and time again. Today, people were killed in Kanyama. So-called PF cadres were killed in Kanyama. ECZ issues a statement to say, no, violence has been rocked and we want political parties to stop violence. After PF cadres have been killed, that's when ECZ has got the guts to issue a statement condemning violence. How many UPND members, how many innocent Zambians have been tear-gassed in their rooms at Unza? Vespers Shimunzila. This other lady was killed in town. Mapens Chibulo. Gaddafi shot in Kaoma. Has ECZ ever issued a statement condemning violence? That's how biased the ECZ is. So even when you find that on board the cargo that was carrying ballot boxes, kwasangama phone, Don't be surprised. These guys are under the armpit of the PF. They answer to the PF. But their time is soon coming to an end. Because you, the people of Zambia, are going to cast a vote. Here, this vote is not just against the PF. We are casting a vote against incompetent ECZ officials. We are casting a vote against cadre violence. We are casting a vote against corruption. We are casting a vote against biased police. We are casting a vote against biased judiciary. The whole system has to go down. And your vote is the key to put down this system which wants to hijack and circumvent our democratic process. It is not going to happen because we are alive to the task and we know what the PF are doing. We are 10 times and 10 steps ahead. So thank you very much for tuning into this broadcast. This broadcast was all about telling you and giving you the critical information that ECZ on board the plane, which was bringing ballot boxes for the elections, the third batch, the last batch, which carried 47 container or 47 consignments for 47 constituencies. It landed, but it did not land alone. It landed with phones, satellite phones, batteries, motors, several accessories. That's what it landed with. It shows you to say that ECZ cannot be trusted. That ECZ somewhere, somehow are working with and for the PF. They must explain about those phones. Who is the owner of those phones? And how did those phones find themselves on board? Because Sylvia Bwalia wants to plead ignorant, wants to play ignorant. Meanwhile, that was a chartered plane. A chartered plane is a private plane. Ni booking when in airline semantics, when you say chartered, ni now booking. So that you booking a motoka or booking and then you come and ask people to say, if we order the ballot boxes, which those bags of maize which are on board the flight, that we ship. You can't say that because it's on your manifest. Every airline has got a manifest. Before that plane even took off from Dubai, Emirates airline emailed or gave a hard copy of the flight manifest to you, the receiver. The manifest shows you the cargo that is you are carrying, what is in that cargo, what time it is taking off, and what time it is landing, and the person who's receiving it on the other end. These Emirates guys are professionals. They are above board. The people who have failed us by combining ballot boxes, nama private phones that we share is ECZ. Bash ECZ. On 12 August, you and me should teach ECZ a lesson. Thank you very much. And don't forget, this time you are voting for Haka Inde Ichilema and the UPND to end corruption and poverty and end all these institutions which are biased and trying to maintain the PF. If you're just joining me, this video is also going to be available on YouTube. Go to YouTube and type Mainda Simataa and subscribe so that you can have a look and listen to all these updates which provide you with intelligence information, inside information, interpretation and analysis. Because per TV you won't find anything. Per TV they just asked Sylvia Bwalia one question. Oh, Sylvia Bwalia, so what do you think? What do you think? How do you think these ballots or these phone accessories found themselves on the airline? No, as the Electoral Commission of Zambia, we are going to consult with the airline to see how this cargo found itself. Otherwise, all we know is that this plane was supposed to be carrying ballot boxes. We'll get back to you. Journalists in Zambia are satisfied with that answer. And we'll forget. But some of us don't forget. We take these things seriously because it's freedom that we are fighting for and we want credible elections. So thank you very much once again. Goodbye and God bless.